be in therapy, bipolar, didn't know who he was.
Well, that's where you can really easily see who's sitting on the shoulder, right?
Yeah.
The devil's got Jacob over here, and the angel's got Israel over here. Then Reuben said to his father, once again, Reuben stands up. He says, you may put both of my sons to death if I do not bring them back to you. Entrust him to my care, and I will bring him back. So if Jacob knew how truly trustworthy Reuben was, he probably would have bought into it. But of course, he doesn't know that Reuben stuck up for Joseph in the first place.
Right.
So once again, Reuben stands up.
Of course, he doesn't know his sons did that, period.
No.
Yeah.
No, but as it continues, Judah's the one who stands up, and we just looked it up. Judah's the one who wanted to sell him in the first place, so,
Yeah.
Instead of
Get
killing,
all-
instead of killing them.
yeah.
Yeah, so he was
Wanted to sell him.
he was like the
Judah
second
did.
best brother. He didn't want to kill him, he just wanted to sell him into slavery.
Why
He wanted to make some cash on
Yeah.
the deal.
Yeah.
Let's get something out of
So,
it.
good-ish. Good-ish.
The lesser of two evils.
Yeah, exactly. But Jacob said, my son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left. Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch.
What a slap in the face.
He is the,
But later on, he says of my wife, of that wife.
Of his
Later on.
favorite wife.
of
Right.
the favorite wife.
Right, later on, he says that, but this first time, no.
Yeah, so that's slightly better.
Right.
Yeah.
So
No,
in the
Rebecca.
second passage, he's saying, and your mother's no good either.
Rebecca.
So I'm not sure that's,
Rebecca was the mother-in-law.
Favorites with the sons and favorites with his wife.
yep, and that's the way he always was.
Nowadays, too.
With multiple wives?
No, not that much. Favorite kids.
And that never works out.
No, we don't have a
That
favorite.
never works out.
Nope,
Nope,
they're both awesome.
yeah. I was worried about that, but it didn't work out that
No.
way. Yes, ma'am.
When there was a Mrs. America contest way back when,
Uh-huh.
and they was interviewing her, and she had 10 children, and they asked her if she had a favorite, and she said yes, and the interviewer was so flabbergasted and said, well, which one? She said, the one that's late getting home, the one that's sick, the one that's having trouble.
My friend said that too.
And thank you, so I keep thinking, you do have a favorite one, the one that needs you the most of the time.
At the time.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, I guess.
That's why she won. Good answer.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, you made it through chapter 42, and Jacob's not budging. He's got his favorite son, and that's the way it's going to be. Everybody can start.
Yeah, he's definitely Jacob now.
Till he gets a little more hungry.
Till he gets hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The famine was still severe, so when they've eaten all the grain they had bought, their father said to them, go back and buy us a little more food. But he still doesn't want to go according to Joseph's plan.
But in verse 6, Israel asked. When I heard that, I was like, he's back. So maybe he is bipolar.
So with the seed they brought back, probably so famine conditions, they didn't even try to grow anything.
I think they just ate it. Yeah.
I think they did.
Yeah. They were just going to eat it. Make it into bread or whatever they were going to make.
I don't see why in verse 6, though, that he's called Israel. It seems like it should be Jacob there still.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was having trouble when I heard that today.
So that'll be a little bit more research. Why in the world is he called Israel in verse 6?
And to me, it's like he almost thought that the rules should change
For him.
for him.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, it wasn't gonna work before, and yeah, we're not gonna go down without Benjamin. Rules still stand.
Just because you're hungry doesn't mean the rules are going to change. But he goes back to being the old Jacob, the deceiver, and he's got to have it his way, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's definitely a Jacob statement.
Yeah, that should have been a Jacob statement.
Yep.
So I'm going to look that up. Why not Jacob? That one doesn't make sense. And then Judah pops up. Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I may I will guarantee his safety. And you can hold me personally responsible for him. So Judah's stepping up.
And then he says, then if I don't do that, you can blame me forever. So you think that means something? Blame me forever?
They have grudges.
They hold grudges, yeah. I mean, does that mean like you don't
And
inherit?
probably still is guilt over Joseph in the first place.
And he wouldn't get any of the inheritance.
That's what I was thinking
Yep.
it meant, maybe no inheritance.
And this is interesting because Judah's come a kind of a far way because remember he left the family and married I can't remember if it's 2 or 1 wife. One wife, a Canaanite, and he had those 2 lousy sons. So he's made a little bit of transformation too.
And then he slept with his daughter-in-law. And
And
then
he's-
he said,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that was the
fantastic.
commercial.
And then he-
At least he didn't know.
It was
her.
between our stories.
Yeah, that was the interlude. Before we found
Yeah,
out what happened
that's
to
right, I
Joseph.
forgot. That was,
Yeah,
It's a soap opera.
yeah, it
Really?
is. It
it was
is.
a teaser for the next season.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Judah wasn't a good guy, but now he's changed a little bit. So he's made a little bit of a transformation. So their father Israel, we're back to Israel.
Mhm.
And this here tells us that it was God's will for the boys to always go to Egypt. And now that Jacob's made the decision, okay, you can go, he becomes Israel again. So this one's a little bit easier to see. Verse 6, I'll have to figure out how come he's called Israel there.
Well, wonder why Jacob would put more stock in Judah making these promises than what Reuben said you could kill his 2 sons if he didn't bring him back.
It could be that when Reuben made the deal, they had food, and now they don't.
Now they don't.
Now, times are getting desperate.
Right.
Because he really doesn't want to lose his oldest? He really doesn't want to lose
Okay,
his oldest?
my
Impossible?
notes says, Judah offered himself as security for Benjamin's safety, an even more generous gesture than that of Reuben.
Sons. Reuben offered his
What
son.
is it?
Oh, well, no, but Reuben did that too.
Reuben
No.
offered his 2
His
sons.
His 2 sons,
offered
Judah.
himself.
Oh, okay,
that's what,
okay,
yeah.
I got
But
it.
still, would you want to give up, I mean, when Reuben said it, Reuben's his oldest. So, yeah, no, I don't want don't want to be losing my oldest son either, so no, we're not going that route.
Could be.
And with Judah, it could be starting of the redemption aspect of things.
Yeah. Could also be that he doesn't mind Judah dying because Judah already dishonored him by taking the Canaanite wives. Judah left home, married the pagan women. A lot of different things could happen here. We don't know. But at least we know that Judah has changed a little bit. So that's good. That's good news. And here, Jacob thinks he's going to impress the Egyptian by taking the double amount of silver with you, take him some gifts, spices, myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds, a little bit of honey, and see if this sweetens the deal.
So once again, he's trying to buy his way like he did with
Sure.
Esau.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
Kind of a
Another
schemer
typical
anyway.
Jacob.
right. Yeah, don't pay attention to the rules you were given. Try to work it out your way. So yeah, we're back to Jacob.
So you wonder what the boys did with the 20 pieces of silver they got for selling Joseph to begin with? They divided it up equally, or
Or allocated to shares, who knows?
blew it?
Yeah.
Amazon.
I thought they went to Dairy Queen.
Went to a casino.
Wrong.
Yeah, they thought they're gonna double their money at the casino and they
Yeah.
lost it all.
Probably.
That sounds like the right thing to happen.
Yep.
So the men, now not boys, took the gifts and double the amount of silver and Benjamin also. And they hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph.
Why do you think that Israel or Jacob doesn't go?
could be old.
Yeah,
Too much.
too old, the trip is too large for him.
Yeah.
So it says
Still
one
have
of my
to take care of
daughters.
that.
He's still got family to take care of.
Yeah.
I'm sure
They're
that's
still a
it.
major.
And remember, nobody can do anything without Jacob.
Right, that's
So
right.
he probably had to stay back.
Right.
And Benjamin apparently didn't have anything to say about it. He stayed when his dad said stay, and he go when his dad said go.
Yep. He's the baby. of the
He didn't
family.
have much.
He's the 37-year-old
Yeah.
baby,
Who's the
Right.
baby?
mid-30s.
Yeah. Yep, he's the
Once
baby.
the baby, always the baby?
You know that for a fact.
Are you the baby?
No.
Yeah, just
And
checking.
in between there, we have,
Oldest girl.
Jacob asking God Almighty, El Shaddai, for mercy.
Yes.
And previously,
Finally.
he had asked God Almighty or El Shaddai for a blessing.
Mhm.
But here we see him asking for mercy on his sons.
Finally, he brings God into the picture.
Had to get down far enough to be humble enough to ask for
Yeah.
help.
Yep. And then the boys get feeling guilty again.
Men,
Yeah,
it says men.
yeah.
They grew up in like two verses.
The man did as Joseph told him and took the men to Joseph's house. Now the men were frightened when they were taken to his house. It's got to be guilt. He's taking care of them, puts them in a nice place, but we were brought here because the silver that was put back in our sacks. He wants to attack us. Goodness gracious.
They were scared. They didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, they were guilty.
Mm-hmm.
They were guilty.
That doesn't happen to the other people from other countries coming there to sell, to buy.
Mhm.
They're not being treated that way. So yeah, I think they were probably really scared.
Yeah.
When you're so rotten yourselves, you don't trust anybody else.
True.
Right.
Yeah. You can't believe anybody's good, right? Yep.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of come to that now. I don't believe anybody when they're on the phone anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It's made full circle.
And then what happens in verse 23?
Peace be to you. Fear not your God, and the God of your father has given you treasures in your sacks. I had your money, and you brought Simon out to me.
Yeah.
Simeon.
Joseph wants to relieve his brother's guilt. So he's telling him a little fib. I received your silver. You guys did pay for it. God must have put your silver back in your sacks.
Kind of like fear not with the women outside the tomb. Angel said to him, fear not.
Yeah. And notice that the Egyptian says, your God, the God of your father. So Joseph wants them to make sure that it's Yahweh that's been blessing him, not an Egyptian god. All right, what else do we see here?
He must still be talking to an interpreter then,
Yep.
right? Because they don't know who he is yet. So.
Right. One of the commentaries I read said that Joseph used another person to talk to his brothers because he was standing in the background watching all this going on. Just like when you had the interpreter, he wanted to hear what the brothers had to say, so he's watching this all go down. And he's seen his brothers worry, he's seen his brothers feel guilty, so this is why he's doing these things. So you can see that Joseph really does love these guys. And he really does want to bring the family back together again. And even though he's harsh and he's testing them, there's a purpose there.
So he had to be elated to see Benjamin for the first time in decades.
Yeah, and we see that too. And then check out verse 28.
They bowed down before him again.
Again, both dreams have been fulfilled. And then verses 29 through 30, he sees Benjamin. and he just has to leave.
Overcome.
He's just overcome with emotion.
Yeah, and he really would have changed a lot because he was so young when,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
He probably changed the most.
Didn't you say 10, Christie?
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Wow.
that's what that one website said it could be. Who
it's on the
knows?
internet.
It's gotta be true.
Gotta believe it.
Right.
So Joseph washes his face, he comes out, and he controlled himself and said, serve the food.
So that must have been a big deal to wash feet again before
Yes.
meals.
Yeah.
They wash feet, well, they ate, I think they might have ate with their feet. All the time.
Well, even if they had sandals on, walking through the desert,
Yeah.
I'm sure their feet were in bad shape. And to have your feet washed, or at least have the capability of washing your feet, probably felt really good.
Yeah.
And then here in verses 32 through 33, at least verse 32, we get an idea of who's who.
Right, because Egyptians won't eat with Hebrews.
Right. They won't eat with Hebrews, and they especially won't eat with shepherds, because shepherds are the lowest of the low. And they didn't want anything to do with them. But here, Joseph is set aside, because even though he's a high-ranking Egyptian, he's still a Hebrew. And the Egyptians now know that. When Pharaoh first put him in charge, he gave him an Egyptian name, an Egyptian wife, to make sure that the Egyptians would start following him and listen to him. But now, probably since Joseph has proven himself, it probably doesn't matter anymore.
You had to be mystified too with all the brothers seated in chronological age.
Yeah, that was interesting. He had them sit in
Do you
that.
think that worried the brothers?
Not a,
Yes, it did.
Well, yeah, because how did he know their ages?
Right.
He didn't ask them what their
No,
ages were.
in verse 33, the men had been seated before him in the order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they looked at each other in astonishment.
Right.
How does he know?
uh-oh, Mr.
How
Bell.
does he know? Yeah. How did this high-ranking Egyptian know their ages? Amazing.
And then Benjamin gets 5 times as much food.
Right.
5
A
times.
growing boy.
Yeah.
And
Once
they drank-
again.
And they drank freely.
And they feasted and drank freely with him. Once again, little Benji gets spoiled.
Yep. Good stuff.
It's
Not all youngest people are spoiled.
I know.
What?
I missed the end of Sally.
I have to say my parents treated us both the same. So
Well, I was one of 6.
one of 6.
That's how full he
And
was.
he passed when I was 2.
Oh, 2?
So
Wow.
we had, my oldest sister took care of
Oh
us.
boy. And how much older was she?
14 years.
14 years.
She was
Still,
16 and finished
Wow.
high school. And
That had to be tough on her.
her whole life was, her whole life she
Raised kids.
was headed
She
to
took care of
the,
them.
Mm-hmm.
well, my dad was there, but he
Yeah.
was a farmer.
Wow.
Any significance on
Yeah,
5?
Betty Wells.
3 is
I
a
know.
special number, 7 is a special number, 40 a special number.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
What was that, Gary? I'm sorry.
5 times, probably would be given 5 times more, you know,
Oh.
what significance 5 has.
Yeah, yeah, you don't usually hear 5, do you?
Karen, could you look that one up?
Mine just says it's,
Our number person?
I don't know.
it just says reflects his special status with Joseph.
No, he wanted to know if you wanted to look it up.
Yeah.
Because every number has a name.
I don't
Okay.
have special 5.
All right.
But they lost money on him.
But he's not done with them yet.
He's not done with them. The testing is not over yet. Testing isn't over yet. All right, so chapter 44, what happens?
Well, he hides a silver cup in one.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a dirty trick,
It really
really.
was.
Yeah, I don't think he
Yeah.
should have done, the rest I could see, but this was like, it went one step, like the practical joke went
He's
too
gotta
far.
get his dad back there somehow.
Right.
And that's what it's gonna
Yeah.
boil down to. It's gonna boil down to, he's gonna get his dad back there, so he gets to see his dad again.
And so that's why he does it for Benjamin, because Benjamin
Right.
is,
Dad will
The
come back
favorite,
for
you're
Benjamin.
Right. All the other guys,
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
worry about it a little bit, but don't take Benjamin.
Benjamin wasn't in on the
No.
selling
Right.
the slaves.
The silver cup
It's actually
used for
very,
divination,
very
you would think that was an occult type thing?
Yeah, and what happened is, in the courts, they used these cups of divination, and when the water was poured in, this is from a commentary, not from me, as the water was poured in, they would look at the ripples and the way the water splashed in, and prophecy from that. But Joseph didn't use the cup for that, because he got all his divine guidance from God. But of course, the boys, the men, don't know that.
Mhm.
So to them, this is what every court magician does. So they would expect David to do this. And for them to steal this cup, they'd be stealing his livelihood. So this is a real serious issue. And they know it. That's why they say whoever did it, kill him. Until they find out it's Benjamin.
I mean, they even had, weren't those two guys that were, was it the cupbearer and the baker or something? And so cupbearer, that was his job, just so that had to be an important
Yeah, yep.
cup.
And we know how terrible this was once they found out Benjamin had the cup, because in verse 13, at this they tore their clothes. And you'll see that over and over again. As they rip their clothes, they are just
Is that-
besides themselves.
So that happens a lot in the Bible. They're always ripping
Yeah.
their clothes when they're,
A sign of distress and grief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what it
that's how
says.
they showed it back then.
right.
Just
Just
tailors in business. Yeah. seems
because
to be.
clothes were expensive.
Yeah.
And they're just, you just imagine that the grief of finding out that Benjamin's gonna be killed or at least taken prisoner, and what that's gonna do to their father.
Yeah.
So Joseph's taking all this in. The brothers who sold Joseph into slavery, they wouldn't have cared if another brother was taken off to prison. Yeah, so what? We get more. But now it means something to them, because they know that their brother would suffer and their father will suffer. So Joseph's watching all this. And this is why he did this one last nasty test, to find out how much have these guys changed. And they've changed a lot.
Of course, when they did that to Joseph, though, they knew their father would suffer,
And they didn't care.
but they didn't care.
They didn't care.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Now
Yeah.
they know and they care.
Yeah.
well, he told them if he loses Benjamin, then he will spend the rest of his days.
Yeah, he'll go to the grave.
Yeah.
And they also saw how he reacted when Joseph was supposedly killed. So they know what's at stake. God has uncovered your servant's guilt.
We might cover up our own sins, but God can see
That's right.
eventually that their heart was pricked.
Yep. And they say, well, just take us all. We ourselves and the one who was found to have the cup. But Joseph says, no, I'll just take the guy who stole the cup. And
They
then
don't wanna
Judah
go back
really
without
steps
him.
up. Pardon?
They didn't want to go back without him. Please don't make us go face down.
Yeah, that could,
Please don't make
that
us go
could be
face
part
down.
of
We'll
it.
stay here, we'll be your slaves too.
Yeah.
Keep us with our brother. Don't make us
And
go
then they
back.
have, Judah steps up and to be the sacrifice and said, take me instead and let him go.
Yep.
Kind of similar to Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys ever wreck your parents' car? No?
Oh, Ben.
So you would do anything to not go back home, right?
I was too far away to walk.
That's all
Luckily,
right.
when I did it, I had whiplash, so that softened my dad's a little bit.
Oh,
My
the guy
new
was-
car? You totaled my new car?
Well, the guy was drunk who hit you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't
So-
you.
No, it wasn't
my
your fault.
No.
But my dad didn't know it at the time I called him. He figured I just
Okay.
wrecked it. Because that would have been the second car I wrecked. So,
Oh, jeez.
Boys are expensive.
yeah,
Yes, they are.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, you're not too anxious to go back home when you disappoint your father.
Second time?
Second time, yeah. What can I say? I liked past tense, to drive fast, no longer. So, yeah, Judah steps up. He gives a great presentation, and not that it's going to sway Joseph, but he knows how his brothers have changed. And Judah gives him the whole story. He doesn't hold back anything.
Didn't even need to be waterboarded.
Nope, just let it all fly out. Yep. Verse 33 and 34, that's probably the kicker. And that's the final test that Joseph needed to see. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? Do not let me see the misery that would come on my father. That's what Joseph wanted to hear right there. And the commentary tells me that verses 40 through, chapter 43, verses 18 through 34, it's the longest speech in Genesis.
Oh. 18 through 34.
Yeah,
Oh, with Judah.
with Judah.
That would be a Jeopardy question.
Yeah. And this is the first time Joseph hears that his father still mourns for him. And that's important too.
Commentator says that this was the most moving address in all the Word of God.
Mm.
So was Judah, was he still speaking through an interpreter?
Yeah,
Joseph?
It was.
yep.
Judah.
Joseph.
I mean,
Yeah, Judah was speaking to Joseph through an interpreter. Because
oh,
they, Joseph still doesn't want to let on who he is.
well, because he came near to him, so I thought maybe that, you know, that he was letting him know
Mm.
that, you know, he understood what he was saying.
No, because he's still gotta get his dad back. He's still gotta keep it a secret who he is.
Yep.
Because the dad will remember the dream as soon as it was right.
I read ahead.
You're,
He comes back.
well, yes, he does.
I know.
And we'll find it out next week.
Oh, we should just keep going.
You know,
Put Joseph to bed.
Yeah.
you have to hold the suspense.
A cliffhanger.
A cliffhanger. You can't read the last chapter first.